Again. 3, 2. Hello, everybody. I am Samuel 15, the Dragon Team here today, and today we're gonna do yet another interview with Zachary Lesage, who managed to do well in Canada as Provincials. He managed to do top 8 and a top 16. And he managed to do so with his Greninja deck. So that's pretty. Greninja's pretty good. So it's nice to have you here, Zachary.
Oh, thank you.
Now, first things first, what made you choose this deck the first one in week 3?
Um, so week one, unfortunately, I got sick. I couldn't go to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So week two, I played in New Hampshire, which is a little bit away from my house. I was looking at the meta game from week one, and I saw that Night March was overwhelmingly popular. I didn't get a lot of time to test to go for week two, just between switching jobs. So I decided to play Night March week two. It didn't really do too well, but there was still an overwhelming Night March population. So for week three, for my home states, or as we call it, provincials,
Yeah.
I decided to play Greninja because I think it has solid matchups around the whole field. The way that I looked at it, I'm right at this point, I wasn't looking to win a tournament. I was looking to gain points for the World Championships.
Ah,
So I was sitting, I believe, at 160 points going into week two of states, or week three of states.
yeah, it's nice.
And it's that point where it's like, yeah, I've done okay this season. I didn't really get to play as much as I want. I took about 3 months off earlier this year, but I'm like, you want to know what, I'm back in and I'm gonna get this invite. So yeah, Greninja is just a type of deck where I could feel I could overwhelm opponents. They need to draw 6 straight prize cards versus me. It's decent versus the field. It doesn't auto lose too much. Besides, my only 2 losses on Ontario were to Trevenant and Vespiquen Garbodor, which are horrible.
Yeah.
And same thing in Quebec. I lost to, what was it? Trevenant, or no, I lost a Sceptile and Vespiquen Garbodor again.
Was it the
So
same person playing Vestal Queen Garbodor?
it was exactly the same person. I know it was really, it was pretty sad, but
That guy has
and
your
then in
number.
the top 8 in Quebec, I unfortunately lost to Trevenant. So the only 5 losses I've accumulated across those 2 provincials were all horrible auto loss. I basically looked at my hand. I'm like, I can't win this. I scoop. My list doesn't play Rough Seas at all or any other stadiums. There's no way for me to get around Trev. Same thing. I don't play Wallies, and I even took out the Lysander in between weeks 3 and week 4. It helped out versus other matches, but it wasn't. It would have helped a little bit versus Trevenant, but it ultimately it didn't matter.
Alright. So, week 3 is the one you topped 8, correct?
Week 4 is actually, like, this past weekend is the one that I did a top 4 in,
Okay.
or sorry, a top 8 in.
Okay. So, taking out the Life Center was proved ultimately helpful from what it seems.
To a certain degree, I both had the same 5-2 record at the end of it.
Okay.
I just had higher resistance week 4 because of I had 4 of my opponents in the top 8.
Ah.
It's just how it worked out that week. I still placed fairly high week 3 at a 10th place finish. But yeah, it's just the way it works with resistance.
So, all right, let's go into your matchups for week 3, which was on Ontario, correct?
Yep.
What did you play against round 1?
Round 1, I battled versus a Ho-Oh Manectric deck. I was fairly happy to battle against that in a 2 out of 3 setting, especially with Ho-Oh EX being weak to water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, he didn't get a chance to bench a Ho-Oh EX because I would have loved just to draw double prize cards versus it, 1 energy. The trade-off is really strong.
Yeah.
But in that case, then he's just dealing, all he could attack with is 110 damage at any given point with Manectric EX. So I really just overwhelmed him. Game 1, he dropped a Rough Seas versus me.
which was probably very helpful for you
Yeah, it was helpful for me because it meant that he could never knock out any of my Pokemon.
since you could free retreat.
Yeah, exactly. And game two, he decided not to, and he just scooped halfway through. It was not even worthwhile for him to play.
Yeah, you probably just went somewhere to take a nap real quick, or like went to get like breakfast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
It was a rough loss for him. He was actually a fairly strong player. Um, but yeah, I think he ended up going 5-2 or something like that day.
nice. So, what did you put? And for round two? What did you play in round two?
Round two, I faced Trevenant deck. My friend Jordan, he eventually came second at that tournament and top four in Quebec.
Oh, so you're playing against your friend right there, right?
Yep.
That's always like just kind of disappointing. You never want to play against your friends, especially in the
Well,
early rounds.
I find especially like in the Ontario area, a lot
Yeah.
of the Canadian players are friends because especially we'll travel to many U.S. tournaments,
Uh-huh.
so we just end up going on more and more road trips. So I would consider like a lot of the community friends,
Oh, okay.
but at the end of the day, it was a horrible matchup. Game one, I came somewhat close, but he ended up benching me out. Game two, I looked at my hand and I scooped, knowing that I couldn't win. It's pretty much an auto loss because I can't rare candy into my Greninjas. He's already sniping me, and even if he were to get a wob out, which is better for me, I can't even use my abilities. So I need to hope. That week I did play Lysander, so I was basically hoping all game for like a Lysander, bring up his Shaman EX, and then that's. But I couldn't even do anything with that.
Just play the shaming game right there, right?
Yeah,
But that apparently did not work for you there. So you're
no.
yeah, you're 1-1 going to get into round three. What did you play there?
I overly can't remember in which order I played my matchups. I know I was 2-2 fairly early in that tournament, which was kind of sad. I
Yeah.
might have been 2-1 at that point, but I know I battled versus a mega, one of those Latios donk decks
Oh, with the
somewhere in the
bats.
Swiss.
Was Yoshi there? Was you're playing against Yoshi?
No, I was playing against Khan.
Oh, okay.
One of our local players. Game one, he had nothing. Game two, he donked me. Game three, it was actually quite close because I didn't even realize that he could like snipe a Greninja break after hitting it for like 60 damage, like anywhere. Well, I realized it. I just didn't realize how powerful it would be. And I ended up taking that one. I lost versus Vespiquen Garbodor, which is I don't even need to mention. It's a horrible matchup.
Yeah.
Um, I beat a Seismitoad Giratina. I basically just would Jirachi, and then like
You do play
whenever
Jirachi, so it's like really hard for them. Plus, like you don't play stims, you don't play special energy, you don't play tools that much.
there's basically nothing that he could lock versus me, he can do 120 damage maximum
The
with
toad,
a Giratina.
yeah, the toad might hurt you early on, but I think eventually you should probably be able to power through that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Um, it was versus another one of my good friends, but it happens in these tournaments.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what else I battled versus. There wasn't really anything that was like notable. It was a oh, I battled versus a Giratina Fairies deck in round seven. That was pretty easy because as soon as they played Double Dragon Energy, I could Jirachi it, or I also have the ability to stat it, or I could attack with Shadow Stitching,
Hmm.
so I could shut off their Aromateas.
Yeah. Darn.
So it was a rough match. My opponent knew going into it, but we were playing for top 16 points, whereas I had a lot more points than he did, so he wasn't too bitter about it.
Yeah. So you finished top 16 in and Ontario, correct?
Yep,
That's you get like what 30 points there?
you got 30 points, so it was like, I was like, okay, week two, I did nothing. Week one, I was sick. Week three, okay, I have 30 points. I was pretty happy.
You have
Uh,
190 right now, or at that point.
exactly, and then I ended up winning a league challenge on day two anyways to get me up another 15 points.
Oh, that's nice.
So 45 for the weekend. I was like, that's a decent bit of the invite.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's so you have like 205 points at that going to week 4. So you took out the Lysander for what going into week 4?
I took a Lysander out for teammates,
The
hoping
first.
it would help.
No,
Yeah, for teammates.
okay.
I thought it could help out versus depending like if they got an early game knockout. Because my deck usually falls behind a couple prizes. I ace trainer them.
Yeah.
Teammates could be like kind of nice to get back into a game to get a rare candy, Greninja. Um,
Maybe a cup of water.
yeah, exactly. It can just do like a couple neat tricks. It can get my Sacred Ash and my Fisherman out of my deck, which can sometimes be hard to get.
Yeah, I love playing teammates in non-EX decks. Like you don't run a single non-EX in this deck, so which is really pretty
Yeah,
good for you.
so they have to draw 6 prize cards. So yeah, teammates is worthwhile. Um, Going forward, would I keep that space? I'm not sure.
Uh,
Would I keep the Greninja core that I've been running? Again, I'm not sure.
uh,
Right now, we're going into expanded tournaments.
yep.
Um, I've been doing a lot of extensive testing. It looks like Eels is getting a resurgence, so I don't even know where Greninja falls.
Eel seems to me like the eel seems like it's always fluxing and like going up and down with like one thing or another.
Well, the only thing that's changed, I know that Florida and Oregon regionals both played Breakpoint.
Yep.
So it's the exact same format until the new set gets released, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for week 3 of regionals. And I played in Florida regionals. I did okay. I came 10th. Um,
Nice.
there's a decent bit of a metagame, but the only thing that's changed is we have Jolteon EX, Revitalizer, and Flareon EX. Those are the 3 most playable cards from generations that were released
That's
since.
true.
So Eels gets Jolteon EX, which is fairly strong partner.
Yep.
Vespiquen Vileplume, which was already, I don't know if it was played and expanded, but it gets a couple new tricks with Revitalizer, and Flareon EX is just okay right now.
It's meh. I mean, it has a good Genesect matchup, which Genesect is getting pretty popular again.
Yeah, exactly. So Virgin it might become better
Yeah.
based off of Jolteon EX being played because you could just G booster them for 200 damage.
Yeah. And
So for all you know, Flareon EX could see a decent bit of play. And if it sees play, then maybe Greninja will be play, and then we go into this endless rock paper scissors. But I haven't really gone to testing into like all these extensive matchups and what's going to be played. I'm just testing everything that I think is okay.
yeah, and expanded like if you, I was watching both streams for both uh Oregon and Florida, and by the way, that Tarbell nonsense was a little. But regardless, for the finals for both Florida and Oregon, I don't know if you know, but it was the exact same. It was Trevenant Break versus Primal Groudon,
Yeah.
which was pretty interesting to me. Which pretty much tells me, okay, you should probably play either Primal Groudon or Trevenant. That's what it told
Well,
me a
I
little
think
bit.
Trevenant did surprisingly well
I
because there's
agree.
a lot more dark decks in expanded, in my opinion, because it gets the dark patch back, and then there's max elixirs, so it allowed for Turbo Darkrai, the deck that I played,
Yep.
to exist. Evil Tall is already very strong.
Yep.
Um, I don't know if there's any other dark, like dark is just a strong force.
Yeah. Dark has been strong since Dark Explorers from 2012.
Exactly.
I have a feeling that like it'll be another couple years before Dark type decks just will fade out in general because it also probably might be rotated out of standard, but you know we have Zoroark still, which is another dark type. Granted, it doesn't necessarily need the darkest energy unless you play the break, but not everyone plays the break anyway.
Yeah.
The break's
Although it
actually
has
pretty
been seeing
decent.
some play near the end of the states.
Yeah. So, getting back on topic a little bit, do you remember what exactly you played in round one of week 4 in Quebec?
Um, Round 1. What did I face first? I battled versus a newer Pokedad. He was playing Night March build.
They're always fun to play against.
Yeah, no, he was a totally cool guy.
Yeah.
He recognized my name from my past accomplishments, and he was like, "Uh oh," and I was pretty happy. Not that he was a Pokedad, but he's playing Night March. Night March is a really strong matchup for Greninja
Yeah.
because I could just Jirachi him, and I could Greninja Water Shuriken, Giant Water Shuriken, wipe off 3-4 prize cards a turn late game if I need to.
Yeah.
He drew dead game one, which I find hard for Night March, but whatever, it happens.
It happens. It does happen more frequently than one would think for Night March.
And then game two, I just controlled him with Jirachi. It's just what my hand dealt me, so he didn't really know what Jirachi did, so he attacked right into it a couple times.
Ah, yeah. That
So
happened.
that sealed his fate. Um, Going into round two, I battled versus a player. He said he's been playing for 5 years. He played the Latios EX Donk deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like it's battled very similar decks to what I battled in Ontario. Um, he didn't fare as well. He didn't get any donk going off at all. Um, but he attached a double dragon energy to start against my Jirachi, so I discarded that right
Yeah.
away. And then the game I basically took over after I set up because my output's just stronger than his. That's basically how both games worked.
Yeah.
Um,
Round three?
Round three. Now I'm trying to think of what I battled versus round three. I know round four I battled versus Sceptile EX, which sucked.
Oh, did you win round three? Do you know that at
I
least?
did win round three.
Okay.
Um,
Did you play Night March, Voltol, or something Rogue?
I want to say like I battled another Night March. Yo,
Mm-hmm.
I did battle Night March. I battled versus a person who eventually made top eight of the tournament, Gabby.
Huh.
Um, so it's a typical Night March matchup. He had a lot better cards than my first round opponent. Like his hands were dealt a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, it's still a really strong matchup in my favor. So yeah, round four I battled versus Mark. He was playing Sceptile. I asked him for a tie because I knew he was playing Sceptile. He was like, "No, I'm not going to tie you. I know you're playing Greninja." I was like, "Okay, so I'm about to lose now." So I look at my hand. I'm like, "Okay, I can't win this." Basically, when I'm looking at a hand versus I'm battling one of these matchups, I'll give it 2-3 turns to see if they draw absolutely nothing,
Yeah.
or I'm looking for like Froakie, rare candy, Greninja,
Yeah.
and like a Sycamore or something like that. That didn't happen either game, and that was that.
Yeah. Usually, I like to play out, especially if it's the last game. I like to play out my games. If it's the first game, I will try to scoop a little earlier if I can. If I don't think I'm gonna win it, I'll just go, all right, I'm not winning this. I'll scoop. But if I don't think I'm gonna win this, I'll win a game in game two or three. I always try to play out like no matter what, unless I have to like go to the bathroom or something like that, or something along those lines. Then I will scoop. But I always try to
For
play it out if I can.
for me, I used to be like that, and then I've realized that there's certain matchups, no matter what happens, like he's weak to me. He one shots all of my Pokemon. I need to rare candy my Pokemon. His Pokemon are mostly basics. My ability does not affect his Mega Pokemon.
No.
Um, so I'm like, I could sit here and I could waste my time, or I could just give my opponent a win. Refresh going into rounds five at that point, and then just really trying to win.
Man, that is a pretty excellent strategy. So, but you're 3-1 going into round five, which is it's a pretty nice record at that point.
Yeah, and then I think I faced actually the Vespiquen Garb at that point,
Oh,
which I'm like I knew who it was, I knew who he's playing, and I was like, here we go again. It's like because week one my brother ended up becoming first seed going to top eight, the exact same decklist as me, and he didn't face like nearly as bad as matchups as I did.
that's pretty. That's pretty lucky and pretty good for your brother.
Yeah, 5 wins, 2 ties, like you can't really go wrong. And I'm
No.
like, here I am battling versus another matchup, but I'm like, well, at least my tiebreakers are doing okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. So, um, it was like whatever. It happens. I ended up taking a single game on him.
That's nice. That's something.
I just Jirachi'd and basically tried. Like, that's a matchup I'll actually try in because I could somewhat win it.
Yeah.
You have to hit for 10 with the Jirachi on a Vespiquen, discard their DCE, and then you have to hit them with a Moonlight Slash returning to hit for 80.
Uh-huh.
The Garb is almost going to get out every single game, and then it's just like hoping that you can take them out. If they don't get Evil Talls out, or if they can't attach their two basic dark energies, then like I'm in okay shape.
So,
But at game 3, it just didn't work out. I was way too far behind, and it was a little bit better than the week earlier, but it was still a loss.
so you're playing against a
Vespiquen Garb,
Vespiquen Garb.
and Vespiquen Garbodor Evil Tall.
Oh, okay. I haven't actually heard of that deck anywhere before. Honestly, Vespiquen Garb. I haven't heard of that thing.
The Garb was like a very minimal line. I think it was like a 1/1 line.
Oh, okay.
There was like other Pokemon in the deck, like Shamans and stuff to discard, Unknowns.
Huh.
But that's basically like the Garb really just shuts my whole deck off. I didn't play anything. Looking back at the tournament, I should have played a Xerosic.
Huh.
That would have been better than the teammate spot in hindsight, but it still didn't help out versus Trev. So yeah, I lost that one.
3-2 at this point.
3-2. I battled versus a YGZ in round 6.
Okay.
That's a fairly standard matchup. He ended up having to attach a DC to his Zorua around or turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
I Jirachi'd him, and I got a Bridget out.
Yeah.
And then next turn, I triple rare candied into Greninja.
No way, triple rare candy.
Yeah, I think. Well, I got the third rare candy after Octillery, but still, I was just like, here I am, turn 2, sitting on 3 Greninjas versus an already okay matchup. He can't attack me. I'm in a good spot.
I don't think I ever hit 3 rare candy in a single turn before. Like, was able to. Actually, I was. Back when I was playing Blastoise Black Kyurem, I was able to rare candy 2 Blastoises and a Delphox. I actually played a Delphox Fennekin in that deck too for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but going back to you, as you were saying, how did that match go?
So that match went really well for the first game.
Yeah.
Game two, I think he just lost steam and realized that it was a bad matchup, and he scooped halfway through.
Yeah.
Like I was just like got him into a point where I had him with 2 Shamans left, and I was just like knocking everything out with my giant water shurikens. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah. What was he playing again? What was he playing?
He was playing YGZ.
Oh, okay, YGZ, making sure.
In round 7, I battled versus a Vespiquen Vileplume.
Ooh, I bet you were a little nervous going into that matchup.
Yeah, it was like one of my really good friends, Marvin.
That even makes it even worse.
Yeah, and we're both going for our invites too, so I was like, well, we could tie, and we both know that we'd make top 16, and like we both knew that I would make cut had I won the match, and he would have maybe made cut had he won the match. So it worked out in my favor, but it was just like game 1,
he came. Decided to play out then.
We did play it out.
Yeah.
Game 1, I got a couple bubbles off to try to slow him down.
The bubble.
But it didn't really matter. He had a bit of a rocky start, but he really got out of it after turn 1. My start was rocky too. Game 2, I ended up winning a very, very close game. I think his Bunnelby was his... he had 2 prize cards left, and his Bunnelby was his second last prize or something like that. So he couldn't get back, and he was about to deck out.
Yeah.
Game 3, it was just really close down to the wire. I got a couple
of those games.
I got a Greninja breakout, and I was basically like sacking things up, trying to hit something for damage, and he would AZ it back. I just ended up squeaking the game out.
Yeah, those are the best, most fun games, especially against your friends. Like with the most high pressure situations when you're in game 3, and whoever wins might perhaps make cut, and you get your friend. That was probably like a lot of
And it's
pressure at that
also like
time.
time was just about to be called as well, and I was like, it's not a good matchup. It's not a bad matchup. It's just really, it is what it is.
I'm guessing you were like like freaking out, or like had a bit of a pressure when you were at that point, right? Like,
Well, I was just like, I almost wish I would have rather tied it because like the top eight, I didn't end up doing anything extra. Like I battled versus a Trevenant deck,
ah,
which is really disappointing to face like an auto loss going into the top eight.
uh,
But like it worked out for the weekend. I think I'm sitting at 262 or 267 now for points after league challenges.
nice. So all you have to
Um,
do is like
yeah, it's
like
267, I think.
so basically, it's like top 16 regionals you're in, right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's fairly manageable for the most part.
Yeah, and I have the ability to go to three regionals if I need to. Ideally, I only want to go to one.
Technically.
I have my local regionals about an hour and a half away from my house, so
Have you maxed up in LC points yet?
no, I still have one more that I could place in,
Okay. Oh,
and I think I only have like three wins, so I'm fairly close. I can't do it with just LCs, but I can top 32 at regionals.
yeah, just top four ALC were better than just top 32. Then you're in, like you said, which is
Yeah.
you're in a very good position to make your world's environment. Actually, very guy for you, dude. So, all right, let's talk about your deck choices now. You play two Jirachi, which is I see a lot of people play who play Greninja also playing two Jirachi. So why exactly did you want to play two of them? Just out of curiosity.
I wanted to play two. One one is too little in case you're prizing things.
Yeah.
The metagame is special energy reliant right now.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Jirachi is just strong. It's a good prize to stack up. It's an easy, like it's a decent starter because it's not a Froakie.
No.
Um, Overall, it's decent. It's good, and it just beats a lot of the meta. There's really not much else to say. But I don't want it prized. I want to have multiples out for matchups that I need it. So I think three is too much. Two is a good number.
Yeah.
One's too little. So
Okay.
two is just a good number.
All right. Now let's talk about your Frogadier rare candy. I see like a lot of people playing like somewhere between no rare candy to like as many as four like you're playing, and you're only playing three Frogadier. Why are you playing four rare candy? Why are you playing only three Frogadier? Most people like to play four Frogadier.
Um, I didn't find that water duplicates was a super strong attack. I only used it if I were to be trainer locked.
Okay.
Um, it doesn't help out versus Trevenant at all unless you play four.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you lose versus Trevenant unless you don't play Rough Seas in a high count of like three or four. So the three was really just a space constraint. I would rarely water duplicate unless my hand was garbage.
Mm-hmm.
The deck's been testing ideal hands. I just want to. Yeah, so it's only if I'm battling Trainer Lock that I'll ever water duplicate. You just rare candy like a normal deck.
Yeah.
You get your Greninja set up, and then you just attack and use the abilities. Like Greninja's a fairly standard deck. People like to say that Greninja is a hard deck to play. It's more so you have some critical choices in the matchup, and that includes like I don't see too many players going for like a late game bubble in order to try to evolve one more time.
Mm-hmm.
But the deck stall you try to stall out as much as possible, evolve your Pokemon, and get yourself into an optimal position where you could like have a strong late game. So the four rare candies, I just want to like rare candy, whatever. Get my Greninjas up. It's easier than evolving three times. So that's really my positioning beyond it. I didn't find Wally's was super strong. I tested that version extensively.
Yeah. I was about to ask about that as well. Let's continue.
Um, but it's just Greninja's such a new deck. Um, the first time anyone played Greninja, I think, was Grafton, Roll, and his crew for Florida Regionals.
Yeah.
They built frogs.
Yeah.
That was like a Wally's water duplicate version. the deck's now evolved where there's rare candy. Like there's so many different versions of the deck that I don't think anyone knows what the optimal list is.
Yeah,
I feel like it's leaning towards more of the rare candy list nowadays, but that could change
especially in
depending on
standard.
the. So yeah, the deck's always evolving. Like I almost played and I almost cut Octilleries out of my deck. I was thinking about playing Banette to get around Burst Balloon.
But yeah, I saw that regionals matchup on stream. It was like a quick. It was a really quick mirror, and like it was like all three was done with like they had like 3 games done within like 10 minutes. Like what is this game? So anyway, you played Sacred Ash was pretty standard. You're only let's talk about your Greninja line. You're playing a uh only one of the XY and 3 um of the new
Breakpoint.
one. Uh,
Yeah.
why is that? Why are you only playing one of the Water Shuriken one?
It's mostly because I almost took out the Water Shuriken one in
Uh,
all entirety. It does not have free retreat.
which
It
kind of
has
sucks.
because you can't like double Greninja break unless you're retreating, and that requires attaching an energy.
Yeah.
And being resourceful with this deck is extremely useful when you're playing in matchups. Like you just can't recklessly Juniper because you could, or recklessly Sycamore because you only have one Sacred Ash. There's no puzzle of times to get it back, and if by chance it would be prized, then you're out of the game. Same thing with Greninja breaks. Like you just can't recklessly discard those. Um, the Greninja allowed for me to preserve my energies. Its attack was strong for both of its attacks. I could Shadow Stitch early game, depending on what the situation is. I could Ace Trainer them, Shadow Stitch, next turn, break. I could also use Moonlight Slash 80 plus 60, and then with my 1XY, I could do 30. So the XY, it comboed nicely,
Mm-hmm.
but as a one of. And I would
Okay.
unless I played like some sort of like Zoroark Floatstone version, or just like a Floatstone or had some way to free retreat. I think one one to 0 to 1 is all that's necessary. The other Greninja is just better. I tested with a Dark Greninja a bit to try to beat Trevenant. There wasn't room for Dark energies. It wasn't overly strong.
Oh yeah, there is a Dark type Greninja. Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's a promo. Yeah, me and my crew we were testing it out for a bit, and it just didn't do anything.
What does that do again?
It does for dark colorless 50. I forget what we tested it really early on. I'll see if I could pull it up.
No, I gotta think. All right, I see it now. The ability is Miss Concealment. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So that's pretty nice and a decent ability, I guess. And its attack is Shadow Bullet. For Darkness of Colors does 60. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon.
Oh, okay, so it's 60 instead of 50. Either way, I found that if it can't knock out a Trevenant break, it's not overly strong. And then I think the Greninja break makes it water type again.
Yeah,
So it's not like you could even like hit it and then evolve. It just wasn't super strong. It didn't fit with the flow of the deck.
no, it's. I would actually say Greninja's not a bad card. It's just like the other Greninjas are better. Both of them are better, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Like 80 for basically an energy that you return to your hand is super strong.
Yeah, and then the Water Shuriken ability, it's always been kind of decent.
Yeah.
So you also only play 2 of the break, which is a bit odd. I've for the most part very consistently been seeing people play 3.
I found that the break, you don't want to clutter up your hands,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're playing an auxiliary version of the deck. To this day, I still don't know if auxiliary is the ideal or close to the ideal version of the deck. Um, you don't want to clutter your hand up.
No.
And it's also a card that you can't get easily out turn 1.
Yeah.
You can't get it out turn 1, period. You can't get it out turn 2. And sometimes you can't even get it out turn 3. basically turn 2, you need to rare candy Greninja and then have it break in your hand.
Yeah.
You also don't want to use it as Juniper fodder or as Sycamore fodder.
Nah.
So I found the mix between like I would have liked a third, but I couldn't justify it.
Okay, that's fair. And you play the 2-2 Octillery. I've seen people play a 1-1 Octillery line. Why did you justify the 2-2 line?
I tested in between a 1-1, a 2-2,
Yeah.
um, and even nothing. I just while I was driving to Quebec, which is about a 4 hour drive from my house,
Mm-hmm.
um, I decided on the metagame. I was like, it's barely going to change. There's going to be a couple other decks, but at the end of the day, it did okay week 1. It's going to do okay week 2.
No.
That was really my deciding factor in between the tournaments. But in overall, I was like, dive ball into an Octillery can be strong. If
Yeah.
they don't set it off, it's fairly strong. It gets my resources going, so um, it was more comfortable going into it week 4, even though I don't entirely agree with it.
Okay. And you're playing 2 Ultra Ball. I see some people play Level Ball instead. Why did you play 2 Ultra Ball over 2 Level Ball?
Well, the level balls don't work as well with Greninja, or
Okay.
sorry, with Octillery as Ultra Ball, because Ultra Ball you could discard a couple cards and get
Okay.
them back, and you could also save things such as water energies for Fisherman's for later.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, let's see what else we're talking about. You played 2 Ace Trainer, which is a bit odd because I haven't seen too many people play Ace Trainer at all, and like several people who haven't played Ace Trainer only play as a 1-of. So you're playing a 2-of is kind of bit weird, especially well, at least for me anyway. But since I live in the Chicago area and I haven't seen anyone really play
Um,
that.
it's super strong, especially in a deck that's a setup deck.
Hmm.
I was trying to think of the last time that I played a deck that had rare candy. I was talking with my friends, and it was like in 2013 for like nationals when I played Blastoise.
That's basically about it.
So I'm like, anything that you have, we don't have any N in this format. Putting your opponent 3 cards to my 6 cards, because they're always going to be ahead. I'm not going to take that early game prize cards. I bait them into knocking one out of my Pokemon out.
Hmm.
I shuffle their hand away, and then at that point, I have the ability to Shadow Stitch them.
Hmm.
I have the ability to hit them for 8. Like, it all depends, and it opens up a lot of possibilities. I mostly play 2, so I can get one in my discard pile early, so I could VS Seeker for it as soon as they knock out one of my Pokemon. Either that, or I need to get that copy around. It's very crucial. The deck really grows like ideals like Bridget, they knock me out, Ace Trainer, into Rare Candy, Octillery, and then I blow up from there. So they're playing behind at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, you play 4 Bridger, which is I think it's a tad bit much, but that's just me. Why did you decide to go the entire 4 just so you can get turn 1?
Turn 1 Bridget is fantastic.
It is. I'm not
Um,
gonna lie about that.
you want to get like it all depends on what your starting Pokemon is, but you could literally go Froakie, Jirachi if they're playing heavy special energies and win a matchup like that.
Or
You could
go
go
Froakie.
Froakie, and start with Jirachi. Like if you can't get an Octillery out, if they're playing something that locks you, or if they're saying playing something that can continuously bring up your Octillery, you're not doing anything else turn 1.
Yeah.
The most I've ever done is attacked with Bubble, or I've attacked with Jirachi, and that's if they decide to play a special energy out against Jirachi. Um, you absolutely do nothing. You don't have any cool attacks that you can do. You can Ion Pool with a Remoraid to discard their stadium. There's really not much you could do with that.
I saw some people play Wally, but you already told us why you're not playing Wally.
Yeah,
So
I just found Wally was like way too slow.
yeah. And the last thing I want to talk about is the thing that I always try to bring a point up and say, you're playing Birch. Why did you feel like did you feel like you're good enough with flipping heads that you could risk it for the biscuit?
Um, I feel like Birch is a severely underappreciated card in this format.
Right.
In a deck like Greninja, where I didn't want to flip so much, or sorry, where I didn't want to discard so much, I wanted to play a copy of Birch. Now, people can obviously make the argument about Shauna, because
Yeah.
Shauna gives you consistent 5 cards. But in the case of a deck that plays Octillery or where there's manipulative draws,
Yeah.
if I were to draw 4 cards, then I'm guaranteed to draw 5, where I might not be guaranteed to draw 5 with Shauna,
Yeah.
because I could draw a hand of 5 cards that I can't play. So it would have been the same thing as a Shauna in some scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
or I have the benefits of drawing 7 cards so I could reach further in my deck.
Yeah.
And I made the same decision with YGZ when I played that for the cities that I played it at.
Yeah.
You shuffle and draw 4. If you get an Ultra Ball out of that, you have a higher chance to maxis.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you draw 7, you're drawing 7. So I found at the end of the day, there's not really too many arguments. On average, you're drawing 5.5 cards to 5. I think it's overall a stronger card. And when I flipped Tails, I never really cared.
Well, if you're gonna play Birch in any deck, like in a deck that plays Octillery, that does actually kind of make a bit of sense because like you just gave it the benefits. But in general, I don't like playing Birch because I always flip tails with it. Like I always flip tails with it, so it's not worth me playing.
But at the same time, I don't feel like the difference between a 4 card hand and a 5 card hand is the difference of like winning a match or losing a match. I find that the benefit of a 5 card hand versus 7 card hand might be, um, like I haven't heard too many bad beat stories where it's like, had I drawn one more card in the match. Um, and I'm not a lucky person when it comes to playing this game. I have my fair share. I think everyone has their own fair share of luck.
Mm-hmm.
The decision doesn't really affect me besides the fact that I think that Birch is overall a stronger card. There's also the benefits too if you were about to deck out and then you could draw 1 less card out of your deck by rolling a Tails. Compared to Shauna. Not like that's a really far-fetched situation, but I think Birch is stronger than Shauna infinitely.
That's fair enough. And I'm gonna also you just want to point this one quick thing. You're not playing Judge. Is that because you're already playing Ace Trainer?
It is because I'm playing Ace Trainer, yes.
Okay. Good. Just want to get that out there. So one last quick thing before I let you go. Did you play on stream? Did anyone recording matches or stream you at all?
I wasn't streamed any game that I remember. There was stream in Ontario. Unfortunately, I didn't get streams. And there was no stream in Quebec.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember hearing that there was some reason why there was no stream in Quebec because of they were saying no or something like that. At least that's what I heard.
I'm not entirely sure what happened. I didn't even know if they had a stream team there or not. I've never seen a stream at Quebec out of the 6 years that I've played there.
Okay.
Um,
There's probably just a baseless stream I heard that somewhere then.
yeah, most likely. I'm not entirely sure.
Alright. So, thank you once again for being gracious enough to share your list with us and doing an interview with us.
Yeah, no problem.
And I sincerely hope you do make your world's invite. And if you do well at the regionals, don't forget to let me know. And like if you want to do another list with us sometime.
Yeah, for sure. No, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, that was Zachary Lesage. Is it correct?
Yep.
And I'm in Sammy 15 the Dragon Team here. Hope you guys like today's video. We were also streaming this on my Twitch channel, so please check that out too. It's in the description below. Please check everything out. Everything's in the description below, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please like, subscribe, follow me everywhere you can, and I hope to see you guys next time.